What's up, y'all? Welcome back to Grace Talks, Diary of a Believer. I am your awesome host, Jalen Phillips, also known as Jalen Telisa, and I am so thrilled to have you guys back for yet another week of an amazing episode. So, did y'all like last week's episode or what? Let's give it up for the man of God, Mr. Jalen Phillips. He'll be back again. Actually, like I said, he's on contract for about 3 episodes. So we had an awesome idea, right? We were thinking, in light of today's Pop the Balloon era, to kind of like find love. Y'all know that Pop the Balloon show? We've decided to make this portion of the show a relationship series. Yeah. Me and Jay are doing a relationship series in honor of what we call cuffing season. Y'all thought I was old, huh? I know what cuffing season is. You know what I'm saying? It's those fall, winter months where, you know what I'm saying, the leaves are falling. Pumpkin spice is back, right? Okay. And we just want to share and help the singles out during this time, and some married people too. You know, we don't want y'all to fall victim to the weight of a good cold night, if you know what I mean. Wink, wink. All right. So be sure to subscribe to the show either on Spotify or Apple Podcasts. I've also uploaded the audio to my YouTube channel, which is Jalen Telisa, for those that don't have access to the other options, okay? So, today, let's just dive in, guys. I mean, before I recorded the Boaz episode from last week, the Holy Spirit guided me to the book of Ruth. Never read it really. I don't know the premises of it, or I didn't know the premises of it. I was excited about the book because it was only 4 chapters. You know what I mean? So I was like, that's a win-win. You know, unlike my boy Job. Like, why didn't nobody tell me Job was 42 chapters? I mean, I'm done with it, granted, and you guys will have an analysis on Job because it is absolutely amazing. However, ain't nobody told me nothing. Somebody go get it. Why didn't nobody tell me Job was 42 chapters? Okay. It was literally a challenge, especially given how often Job talks. My boy, it was a lot to read. But like I said, I'm going to give y'all an analysis on that is going to absolutely change your perspective on the seasons of uncertainty. As I've expressed in my life update a couple episodes back. So Ruth was light work for me, okay? But the amount of revelation I received from the book was too good to fit in one episode. So we're going to take the book aspect for aspect, right? And so for the background, Ruth is a widow who is also the daughter-in-law to Naomi, whose husband died. Right? So they both pretty much widows. And Naomi travels home and Ruth leaves and tags along with her. While Ruth is in this unknown area, she works for a man in the field named Boaz. Well, Ruth and Boaz end up getting married and having children, which Naomi is happy about, etc., etc. Okay? So that's pretty much the story within 4 chapters. There's only so much that could be in there. But in today's episode, I want you guys to think about what you are attracting and who you are attracting. Are you attracting bozos or Boaz? Hopefully by the end of this episode, you can differentiate. You know what I'm saying? But seriously though, what are you guys out here attracting? Okay. So we're going to focus on Ruth today. Ruth, as I've said, is a widow who could have remarried, but chose to follow her dead husband's mother in order to make sure, you know what I'm saying, she was straight. I don't know if that's something I would have did. Like, I love Jackie, but I don't know if I would have just dropped everything because Craig's in trouble. Like, I don't know if I would have just up and left everything that I know to go and follow her somewhere where I'm not even familiar with, I'm not from. I would be considered an outsider if I was to up and follow her. So kudos to you, Ruth. Don't know if that's something that Ma would have did. Okay. But anyway. So with that being said, Ruth wasn't selfish. She gave up what she knew and her customs for the benefit of someone else. So what does that show you about Ruth? She's a woman of honor. There is some sense of loyalty. She's also honest and trustworthy. Okay? So moving on to how she carried herself in the field. Because as I've mentioned, she eventually goes to work. And so while she's working in that field, she worked as if it was her field. You know what I'm saying? She blended in well, but she stood out because of her work ethic. Mind you, she's a foreigner. So she knows nothing other than the fact that, me and my mother-in-law need some coins. We may need some food. You know what I'm saying? I got to go get this money, for us. So in that moment, you could say that Ruth is also hardworking. She's faithful for continuously committing to taking care of her mother-in-law. And she's also diligent. The way she work in that field, baby, is like no other. Okay. And she's working that field so good to the point where when Boaz pull up, he like, who is that foreigner working? You know what I mean? And so as I've mentioned before, it's his field. So when he sees this foreigner working, he inquires about her, right? And so I want to read exactly what it says in the text pertaining to his questions and how he replies to knowing when he finds out her name. So give me 1 second. So this can be found in chapter 2, verses 8 through 12. So Boaz said to Ruth, "My daughter, listen to me. Don't go and glean in another field and don't go away from here. Stay here with the women who work for me. Watch the field where the men are harvesting and follow along after the women. I have told the men not to lay a hand on you, and whenever you are thirsty, go and get a drink from the water jars that the men have filled." At this, she bowed down with her face to the ground. She asked him, "Why have I found such favor in your eyes that you notice me, a foreigner?" Boaz replied, "I've been told all about you." Boaz replied, "I've been told all about what you have done for your mother-in-law since the death of your husband, how you left your father and mother and your homeland and came to live with the people you did not know before. May the Lord repay you for what you have done. May you be richly rewarded by the Lord, the God of Israel, under whose wings you have take refuge." So as I was reading that, I realized that he learns her name by watching her, right? But he already knew her because of her character. So whatever it was that she was doing was noticeable to the point where what he heard about her was true because he got to see it for himself. And so lesson 1, take 1 for today. Clean up your act. Clean up your act. Clean your act up, okay? And I'm not talking about your outer appearance, because who you are on the inside will reflect outwardly. No, I'm saying clean up your character, right? The word character means the mental and moral qualities distinctive to an individual. I'm not that old, okay? And so I understand the pressures that society is under today. For me, I'll never bash anyone for peer pressure, succumbing to peer pressure, or idolatry. But what I try to do is, I'll try to bring awareness and education on how to come out of those things. So before Ruth could even speak, before Ruth could even go out on a date with this guy, before she could even flirt with dude, this man had already knew her because of her actions. Those of you that have been convinced that it's okay to post about your sneaky links and how nonchalant you are, that is not an act of morality. Those of you that think it's okay to pop the balloon on somebody just because he chose to wear a belt buckle that day, like that absolutely has nothing to do with a person's character. Those of you that think it's okay to post thirst traps, that is not a moral act. Those of you that think it's okay to post extremely explicit things about your sex life or about your life in general, that is not a moral act either. Okay? And the sneaky peekies, okay? The sneaky peekies, you know what I'm saying? The ones that you have to see it in person to know who they are. It's not okay to be one way online and another way in the field. Okay? You know, it's not okay to praise God on Sunday, but you was on Glorilla type of timing Wednesday through Saturday. I'm talking to men and women because, you know, men listen to Big Glow too. It's not okay, Bookie. Clean up your act, because that's my pastor, because what will you attract and who will you attract? As I've mentioned, Boaz and Ruth get married, right? But I want to focus on Boaz's actions prior to the yes of marriage. So after they have an exchange in the field, Ruth is getting passenger princess treatment at work. You know what I'm saying? Like he said, you ain't got to worry about nothing. As I've read, you know, they going to take good care of you. The men not going to lay a hand on you. You know what I'm saying? You need the rest. You can take a nap on the hay, like everything, you know. She and her mother-in-law eating good at this point. She can have whatever. And so the mother-in-law wants Ruth to show Boaz that she's available, right? Like she is ready to get back out there, you know? And so Ruth does it. And I want to read chapter 3, verses 10 through 13 really quickly, just so we can get imagery of the interaction between the two. So because of their background, there are customs in place. So Ruth had to, I guess, lay at the bedside of Boaz to show that she's available. And so they have this conversation of Ruth saying like, hey, you know, I want you to take me as my guardian redeemer, or let's just say husband, right? Like I'm ready to get remarried and I think it's you. Okay. So this is Boaz's response to Ruth. The Lord bless you, my daughter, he replied. This kindness is greater than that which you showed earlier. You have not run after the younger men, whether rich or poor. And now, my daughter, don't be afraid. I will do for you all you ask. All the people of my town know that you are a woman of noble character. Although it is true that I am a guardian redeemer of our family, there is another who is more closely related than I. Stay here for the night, and in the morning, if he wants to do his duty as your guardian redeemer, good. Let him redeem you. But if he is not willing, as surely as the Lord lives, I will do it. Lie here until the morning. And so he did exactly that. He did exactly what he told her. He followed the steps according to the customs, and he was given the blessing to marry her. But what does that say about Boaz, right? I have here in my notes that Boaz is loyal. He is a man of honor. He's honest. He's trustworthy. He's patient. He's respectful and vision-led. When Ruth followed customs and showed Boaz that she was available, it would have been no problem for Boaz to take that vulnerable moment and take advantage of it and go ahead and marry and populate, right? But instead, he chose to follow the rules, follow the customs. Like, look, before I say yes, I have to make sure that I'm allowed to say yes. Which lets me know that he is a man of honor and honesty, because he did do what he told Ruth that he would do. Like, look, I'm gonna holler at you in the morning, but I gotta make sure that I can do this, right? And so that also shows that he's respectful, because he did not take advantage of Ruth in the moment of her availability. Now, I have patient on my notes because, in my opinion, Boaz been watching Ruth for a long time, right? And so because she displayed such inadmirable characteristics, he waited on her to make the first move, because she is a widow. Okay. So he didn't invade her privacy. He respected her by understanding that she is a widow, right? And although I like her, I want to make sure that she is ready for a husband, ready for a relationship with me, right? So he's patient, but also vision led, right? Because as I've said, he knew he wanted her from the beginning, but he waited on her to show that she was ready. But while he was waiting, whatever it was that he saw in her, he wanted mimicked in his children. Which means while he was waiting, he didn't look at no other women. Because even if you go back to verses 10 through 13, he says it plainly, like, hey, you could have chosen somebody that was younger with more money, you know what I'm saying, than I have. And here you are positioning yourself to have a relationship with little old me. Who am I? Right? He obviously thinks very highly of Ruth. He doesn't even think he's qualified for Ruth. But again, he's vision led. Whatever was in her, he wanted in his children. So not only are you cleaning up your act for yourself, but you cleaning up your act because you are what you attract. If you out here attracting bozos, it's because you are a circus. Come on. I'm not here to hurt nobody's feelings. As I've said, I'm not your condemner. But I'm going to keep it 100 on this podcast, especially with this relationship series, because I have got to free y'all about these shackles of loneliness. The enemy is lying to you. None of us are lonely. If you are a believer, you're not lonely. So again, if you are attracting bozos, it's because you are a circus. If you are attracting bozos with pesos, this means that you are a bozo looking for pesos. Because I'm trying to help somebody. I really am. I'm trying to help y'all, because we are here confusing character with occupation. You can have a man, because what is it? This high functioning versus low functioning? Listen, baby, you can have a man that's functioning high in your eyes according to the outward appearance, because that's what man focuses on according to the Bible. You can have a man that's functioning so high outwardly, but the moral compass is just off the radar. It's terrible. It's terrible. So don't confuse character with occupation. Ruth and Boaz got the same characteristics, y'all. They both loyal, full of honor. They honest and trustworthy type of people. Are you hearing me? Where is Boaz in your life? Is it the young man or the young lady you said was too nice or too lame to be in a relationship with or to talk to? Is it the young man or young woman that doesn't come out late at night or has a curfew of when company is allowed at their house that they pay bills in? They don't really care for the Netflix and chill, but they would definitely go for a walk in the park or, eat some ice cream on a late night, but you can't come over to my house. That's too much temptation. Is it the one that's been around for a long time, waiting on you to make yourself available? Because that's Jay and I's story, really. And I'm thankful that he is starting to agree to tell our story, and he'll eventually tell his too. But I'm thankful that he's agreed to open up and share some things with you guys, because that's why I call him Boaz. Because like Jay, he had a vision of me. Jay seen qualities that I didn't even see in myself at the time. You know, we talking 2013. Like I'm fresh meat. I'm 18 years young. You know what I'm saying? And I had the idea of, I don't need to be tied down. I want to have fun. You know, oftentimes we for some reason between the ages of 18 and 25, it's preconceived that the only thing you're supposed to focus on, if not a career, is partying and having a good time. Partying, having a good time, you know, sleep around, get to know yourself. It's as if 18 to 25 means don't focus on commitment to anything other than money. Because I need you to commit to your career in order to be something in life, right? So that's kind of like how life was perceived in my eyes for an 18 to 25 year old. So I positioned myself of unavailability for a while also showing inconsistency. So that night I came to his house. It's kind of similar to when Ruth laid at the bedside, or when she showed herself available to Boaz. I was showing that I was available, right? But for physical intimacy because of loneliness. You know what I'm saying? It was cuffing season, I believe. Or if not, I was positioning myself to be cuffed. you know, back in my day, them times was madness just like it is today. And again, you know, I had a mindset of, you can have my body and my time, but not my heart and my commitment. And like Boaz, you know, Jay stuck with his vision of me and pursued an honor in that moment by not taking advantage of the fact that I displayed loneliness, right? And he also showed patience. The man of God had patience, for sure, as you guys have heard. He waited on me to clean up my act. And our story may not sound like a traditional fairy tale. Our story may not even be luxurious or attracting to most people. But the one thing that I do know is I got connected with God first. And through his love, God's love, I was able to clean up my act and change my image to show true availability. So again, everybody that's listening to this episode, what and who are you attracting? Is it bozos or Boaz? I want to thank you guys for listening to this episode on today. I hope that it was truly a blessing for you. And also, I hope that you're able to differentiate between the differences in bozos and Boazes out there, right? We want to be like Ruth, and we want a man like Boaz. Amen. All right. May God bless you. Keep you safe. And I'll see you guys next week for yet another episode during this relationship series. Mwah. No bars.